Reality check. It is almost never going to be perfect. There's always going to be something that is not aligned with your values, your standards, your opinion, your ways of doing things. It is part of the adventure and learning experience as well to put yourself out there. That said, here are some characteristics that I believe are red flags. Red flag number 1, alcohol at sea. Avoid. Most boats are so-called dry boats, which means while out sailing, no alcohol is being consumed. And that's a good thing, because if something happens, you want to be fresh, you want to be alert, and you don't want one situation turn into another because someone is intoxicated with alcohol. Your criteria may also depend a little bit on the nature of the trip. Are you planning to sail an ocean, or are you going to be island hopping where you can swim to the shore at all times? Offshore sailing needs next level preparation, but that said, you may go for a coastal sail, but still, the current and the wind could be in the opposite direction of the land, which maybe doesn't allow you to swim back to shore if the worst case scenario happens. This module is about worst case scenarios, but it is your life at sea. You need to take this serious. Red flag number 2. To go sailing offshore on a boat that is either completely new or just has been refitted and things have not been tested yet. On multiple occasions, I've been in contact with a boat. They were so eager to sail away because there had been delays with the refit or the build, and they just wanted to go without a proper test sail. It's almost guaranteed that something will break or will happen. A refit can sound amazing, a new built boat as well. But before sailing away offshore, make sure that there's a considerable trip included where there still is room and space to make repairs or anything in case that's needed. I jumped on a boat once that just came from a refit, and at the time, in my opinion, I thought, great, everything is going to be new. Everything was leaking. The water tank was leaking, the hatches were leaking, the winches were not working, and there were a few more things that just needed to be fixed before sailing away offshore. Luckily, we were sailing the islands and we could figure it out before going on the big adventure. Red flag number 3, and this one is for offshore sailing in particular, when the radio doesn't work anymore. Offshore, you want to be on a boat that can communicate to get the latest weather forecasts. Most problems at sea can be avoided by going with the weather. And you want to be on a boat that checks the weather. These days, almost every boat has a satellite communication device or the new Starlink communication stuff, but it's something you do want to double check. Communication equipment is not only good for checking the weather, also in the worst case scenario, if you need help, you want to be able to alert that you need help. More about safety equipment in the boat safety checklist. As a crew member, you can also carry your own satellite device. I do this since my 4th Atlantic crossing, where I was doing solo watches, and I was looking up to the waves, realizing if something happens now, no one will notice. Nevertheless, you want to be on a boat where there's also this kind of equipment on board. It shows the captain is serious about your safety. Red flag number 4. Sharing the cabin with the captain if the captain is from the opposite sex. This is not normal. Sometimes you may hear, due to limited space, you need to share the cabin with me. Unless you really know the person and you are 1000% happy with that, then it's your choice. But in most cases, I would say the intentions of the captain may be different than just having you as crew. About checking the weather, you want to be on a boat with a captain that checks the weather. I've been amazed how often I've seen captains not checking the weather. And sure, as crew, you can be on top of that as well, and that is of great help, but the captain is in charge and you want to be on a boat where the captain is aware about the weather. I've been on a boat once, and there was a storm announced on the radio, and we went out for a sail, and at that time I had no clue, and I thought, He knows the local weather patterns. It should be okay. It was not. We had to go on deck, hanging on to the mast for our lives, getting the sails down. There was a mayday on the radio, and the next port was quite far away. It was a total unnecessary risk we took. There was no need to sail out that day. Most problems can be avoided by going with the weather. Red flag number 5. A captain that is stressed out all the time. Having a little bit of stress as a captain is normal. Myself, I also get nervous, especially sailing out and in of marinas. It's not always easy, and there's a lot of responsibility on someone's shoulder by being a captain and taking on crew. But if someone is stressed out all the time, it may reflect a little bit their skills, their competencies. Do I pronounce that correct? And also the good vibes on board. It's not fun, and also you may not feel as safe as you could. Red flag number 6. Having no or hardly any safety equipment on board. And this also depends a little bit on the nature of the trip and the destination, but you want to be able to rescue yourself or a fellow crew member. And this is also a reason why some captains are rather not having crew, because they feel responsible and the need to invest in a certain amount of safety equipment, which is really good, but not every captain wants to have a life raft on their deck. But you as crew, especially when going offshore, it would be really nice if you have a life raft on board. Every red flag has different gradations, and in some situations it may be justifiable to have a certain thing or not. But in general, for you to minimize your risk as crew, just avoid these red flags.